23rd. It is a little bit after 12 p.m. We are meeting at the Howard Office Building in the Sonny West Auditorium. I would like to call this meeting to order. This is the Metro Arts Commission meeting. Yeah, welcome to you all. I know we have a featured artist today, and we'll also be welcoming a new commissioner. So with that, I will ask Vivian to go ahead and call the roll.
All right. Commissioner West, Commissioner Harden,
Present.
Commissioner Lefkowitz,
Here.
Commissioner Brown, Commissioner Cole, Commissioner Greer,
Here.
Commissioner Jester,
Here.
Commissioner Khalil, Commissioner Knight,
Here.
Commissioner Wade,
Here.
Commissioner Yu,
Here.
and Interim Executive Director Batchelder,
Here.
and then Metro Legal Macy Amos, and Metro Legal Kelly Woodward, and myself, Vivian Fox, are all here.
Thank you. Next, I will read the land acknowledgement. Metro Arts I'll start over. Metro Arts stands and holds space on the unceded and sovereign lands of the Cherokee East, Yuchi, and Shawnee peoples who have stewarded it for generations. Every community owes its existence and vitality to generations from around the world who contributed their energy to making the history that led to this moment. Some were brought here against their will, some were drawn to leave their distant homes in the hope of a better life, and some have lived on this land for more generations than can be counted. We acknowledge we are all standing on ancestral lands, and we honor the thousands of enslaved African peoples whose lives were physically and spiritually stolen. We pay respects to elders past and present. Metro Arts invites you to join in our commitment to knowing our Native communities in more meaningful ways in alignment with our restorative arts practice. Thank you. Awesome. Now I would like to take the time to welcome Camille Greer, our newest commissioner. Camille previously served on CARE, and we're very excited to have you. So thank you for joining us, and we're looking forward to working with you. I'll let anyone else chime in as well if you'd like.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm super glad to be here, excited to have the honor of serving on this board. Just a little bit about myself. I've been living in Nashville for 10 years, graduated from Vanderbilt, so got to see the city through many stages. But I have a background in the arts space. I used to work as an arts administrator at Southern Word for about 5 years, and then now I'm a nonprofit leader at an organization called Mothers Out Front. I'm co-executive director of that. And so just excited for this opportunity to be here and to serve.
Camille and I shared space together several years ago in a classroom. So I'm thrilled to see her again. And she's going to be a huge asset to us, I know. So.
Welcome, Camille. Thank you so much. At this time, I will move forward to the public comment section of the agenda. Vivian, do we have any public comment today?
We do not have any in-person public comment, and we did not have any public comments submitted before the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I'm going to back up a little bit and read this code. Pursuant to the provisions of Code 2.68030 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, please take notice that decisions of the Arts Commission may be appealed to the Chancery Court of Davidson County for review under common law of writ of certiorari. Any appeal must be filed within 60 days after entry of a final decision by the Commission. Any person or other entity considering an appeal should consult with an attorney to ensure that time and procedural requirements are met. Thank you. Awesome. Moving forward, I would like to introduce our featured artist, Andreas. I'm going to try to get this right. Bustamante. Is that correct? Awesome. A lot of you might know some of his work. I personally have seen quite a few of his murals, and we're really happy to have you here. I'll let you introduce yourself. I know we have some bullet points on the slide, but yeah, please join us, and we're looking forward to hearing from you.
As Andres is making it up, I'll say a few words. Andres Bustamante is a sculptor and public artist born in Cali, Colombia, working a lot in South Florida, and who also calls Nashville, Tennessee home. Andres studied at Watkins College of Art in Nashville, Tennessee, followed by an experimental practice in sculpture. Selected solo exhibitions include Reflexion at Watkins College of Art in Nashville, Tennessee in 2022. He has been awarded the Artist to Artist Award at Art Prize 2024 in Grand Rapids, Michigan, as well as having works in the permanent collection of MoCAN, the Museum of Contemporary Art in Nashville. Specifically, with Metro Arts, Andres was a FY22 community member of the Real cohort, which was Racial Equity and Arts Leadership, and a multiple Thrive awardee, first in FY24 and recently in FY26. His immigrant experience at a young age led him to existential questions about reality and the abstract mystery of life, embracing the abstraction in the human experience and ephemeral emotion in an attempt to stay in shape, color, and material that for which the spoken language has no words for. Andres lives by the conviction that creativity is healing for humanity. He is passionate about community empowerment, mental health, and accessibility in the visual arts. And to learn more about his mission and art, visit andresbustm.com. And please give a warm welcome to Andres Bustamante.
Cali, Colombia, Colombia, Colombia. And I make art because art is a medicine. So I'd like to welcome everybody to just close our eyes, if you can, and are willing and able. And just take a deep breath with me. We can all do that, right? And if you keep your eyes closed, just imagine Nashville, your version of Nashville, your neighborhood. What does it look like? What does it smell like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like to walk down those streets, to drive down those streets, to bike, to hold your kid's hand, to smile? To just be a human in a city that's growing. So we're just going to think of that version in your head, in our heads. I grew up on Nolensville Road, South Nashville, Antioch. So I can imagine that. Now, what does it sound like? What does it sound like without the music? What does it sound like without that one mural? What does it sound like without that beautiful sculpture in the roundabout? What does it look like? What does it feel like now? You go into a restaurant. What does it taste like? What are you wearing? What are you doing now without creativity? There's no color, there's no sound, there's no flavor, there's no artists. But there's more construction, there's more high-rises. Everything goes up, taxes go up. There's no place to make art, there's no place to work from and live affordably. Do you want to live there anymore? Is it beautiful still? Can you still walk down those roads and enjoy it? Can you imagine a world without creativity? What if this world was ruled by billionaires? What would they do? But there's no artists. There's no creativity, there's no sound, there's no color, There's no flavor. There's no immigrants. There's no Knowles Road. There's no Thai food. There's no Mexican food. There's no Colombians. I don't think I would want to live in that place. But what if we lived in a place where at least one artist, maybe two, maybe three, maybe four, maybe five, maybe six, maybe 100 artists could be invited and welcomed, could have a living wage, could have a place to live and a place they can afford to work from, and they don't have to live in survival mode. What if we could do that? What if collectively we could do that? What if the funding that's coming from the tech billionaires, the big oligarchs, what if that could fund color back into a city, flavor back into a plate, a smile back into the faces of our communities? So those are the things I think about. You can open your eyes. Thank you. I live in the world of what if. I'm an artist. I create. I live in La La Land, right? And that's okay because we need creativity. Creativity is part of who we are. We are all creatives. We are all artists in our respective ways. I was working with children yesterday at Aventura Community School, wonderful school in South Nashville that works with bilingual curriculum. And I experienced a world where creativity there was abundant, where language there was abundant, where it didn't matter if you spoke Spanish or just a completely different language, or the color of your skin, or your parents' socioeconomical status. Those kids just had fun and played and colored and loved each other. Next slide, please. What if we lived in that world where we can be children again, where we're not in survival mode, where we fund the arts properly, where we fund artists? I'm just asking what if questions. Can we imagine that world? What could an artist do if they did not have to live in survival mode, scraping by? Yeah, $15,000, that's nice, thank you. But the majority of that's going towards materials, labor, all the things that involve fabrication, community engagement, all the things. And my peers are not funded. I'm being pitted against my peers to compete for crumbs, breadcrumbs, while these tech bros are coming in and doing whatever they want. Excuse my uneducated language as far as politics go, but I can't imagine a Nashville without music, or without color, or without murals, or artists, or people smiling, or people speaking different languages. I can't imagine that Nashville, because I grew up in Antioch. I grew up with color and food and flavor and language and culture and diversity and equity and inclusion and all the beautiful things that make us human. So I'm in the what if realm. And what if artists were funded properly? And what if artists created these opportunities for communities to come together and flourish more? If an artist is not in survival, we're thriving truly, and we are investing in the city, and the city is growing. So this is a difficult topic for me to talk about, but I am grateful to have this opportunity. I don't really want to talk about myself a lot. Next slide, please. But my work, in a way, has a language that I'm still attempting to understand. It's a very abstract language, but it talks about hope. This piece right here is called Rosa Blanca. And to me, Rosa Blanca represents the beauty and creativity and human's connection to our divine nature. Can everybody do this with me? Can you do that whether you're African American, whether you're a female, whether you're a male, whether you're indigenous, whether you're LGBTQIA? We can all do that. There's an adult somewhere in Korea or in Colombia or in Peru or in Puerto Rico or in England or in Gaza that can do that too, that has a heartbeat, that is creative. But we're pitted against each other in this competitive world of damage and chaos and war and competition and ice and football games. And why not invest in creativity more? Why not invest in what makes life worth living and beautiful? Everybody here is wearing a work of art. There was a designer, somebody that thought about and took their time and effort to design, to create, to be. Think about your favorite movie. Think about your favorite TV show. Think about your favorite piece of poetry. When you feel sad, do you listen to music? I do. When I feel excited, I listen to music. When I feel bored, I watch something. This is all creativity. We are creative. You are creative. What if creativity could actually thrive? Next, please. This is a mural collaboration with Tennessee Immigrant Refugee Rights Coalition. They commissioned me for a 3D sculpture mural at their new location in South Nashville, Antioch. If you haven't been, it is a beautiful place where creativity is thriving, diversity is thriving, culture is abundant, and I mean, the work they're doing, I'm very grateful for the work they're doing and honored to be a part of their collection. I invited community members to come during that time, socially distanced, and plant a little seed with me. This piece is called Nosotros las Semillas, we the seeds. There's a saying, can't quote who said it, but the saying goes something like, they tried to bury us, but they didn't know we were seeds. What's a seed's job? A seed's job is just to grow. And artists are seeds. Creativity is a seed. What if we planted more of those seeds? Immigrants, we're a seed. Everybody here comes from somewhere. We just can't deny that. Everybody here comes from somewhere. I don't care where you think you're from, but you come from somewhere. And we're on stolen land. I come from somewhere. I come from Cali, Colombia. Migrated when I was 10 years old, not by choice. But it's been a series of beautiful events that led me to creating art. So I'm grateful for the difficulties. I'm grateful for being buried underground in the trials and tribulations of the immigrant experience because I'm a seed. We are seeds. Art will continue with or without funding. I've already started my Thrive funding, and I know I'm not going to, my Thrive projects with Aventura, I know I'm not going to get that funding for like a month or 2 or 3. Where's my next paycheck coming from? I don't know. I'm going to figure it out. I'm a seed. I'm grateful that I'm resilient. But what if I were thriving? What if my peers were thriving? What if I wasn't competing with my peers, instead just collaborating and thriving together? Like a root system, sharing in the mycelium. Not competing for resources, for water, for air, for soil. Next. That was a mural called Rio de Curiosidad. It was a commission for an office in Franklin, Tennessee. And I was very inspired by the sun coming in through those big windows. So that material is a dichroic film. And when the sun hits it at the right spot, at the right time of day, the room fills up with reflections of different colors. So it's called Rio de Curiosidad, River of Curiosity. And it just, it was so fun. And I invited the office members, the people that work there, to collaborate, because in my head, I just want people to see themselves in the reflection of my work, because it's not about me anymore. The work I create is not about me anymore. It's a language that has to be shared, even though it's abstract. Next. So what if we just thought about these crazy ideas that I just posed? I mean, just thought about it. It's just a seed, right? It's a plant waiting to happen, right? So What if Nashville could do similar things to what Ireland has done recently? Funding artists directly, without compromise, without all these requisites and hoops and bending backwards just to get a crumb of bread. So I want to plant that seed. Universal basic income for artists. That's happening in Ireland. And I know that there's a lot of money behind the scenes that I don't want to pretend I understand how government works and decisions and oligarchies and tech bros and Nashville growing and all this stuff. I don't. I'm an artist. I make art. I live in the what if. But what if we could actually invest in the arts and not make artists compete against big organizations who already know how to fundraise, who already have a follower base, who already have old money, who take money from Core Civic, funding ICE, finding like people that are separating families. Unbelievable. But I'm an artist. I'm crazy. I'm wild. I'm a radical, right? But what if we listened to the artists? What if we funded them? What if we helped them? What if we found ways to really fund the arts? Not just the big orgs that already know how to fund themselves, that already know how to eat. Shout out to the Arts Equity Nashville team. They are doing their best and they are radical, and thank you. And I'm learning because I don't know everything. And I hope that I can plant seeds of positive creativity, positive things. Yeah. Thank you also to the Downtown Presbyterian Church and their Artist in Residence program, which has provided me a studio. Thank you for that. And we recently had an exhibit featured in the Nashville Scene. Thank you, Nashville Scene, Joe Nolan, Best of Nashville, Critics Pick, and I had the honor of curating Keisha Lopez, Ruben Torres, Cesar Pita, Dofre, from artist from California, Alfredo Gonzalez, and this powerful exhibit talking about immigration, resilience, the unseen, and the immigrant experience. We had an artist talk last night, moderated by Anna McEwen. If you have any interest, you can check out our artist talk on my Instagram at Andres, BUSTM, or the Browsing Room Gallery. And we touched on a few topics that are important about immigration and the immigrant experience. I think I said a lot of things, and I appreciate your time. I appreciate the work you're doing. I think we can all come together and like really contemplate crazy, radical ideas, because you're dealing with artists. You're dealing with the arts. We live in the La La Land, but the La La Land is what makes life beautiful, right? Right. The La La Land is what brings us color and flavor and sound and smiles and beauty. Why do we need to fund wars? Why do we need to fund police states? Why can't we fund community gardens and festivals and loving people and helping each other and making life more beautiful and having places to live that you can actually afford without having to work 3 jobs? Like, why can't we do that? Like, why is that not possible? Why does the CEO of whatever get a raise while the artist gets laid off? It doesn't calculate why we have to live in a society like this. But these are seeds that I'm hoping we can contemplate, because Nashville's growing and it's not going to stop growing. And if you push out the arts, you will have no flavor, you will have no color. If you push out the immigrant community, if you push out the LGBTQIA community, if we keep stealing land, if we keep erasing culture and erasing our indigenous community and our friends and ignoring genocide, and if we keep funding war efforts, we're all going to die. and we are dying, and we need to create a new reality collectively. And you have a lot of power sitting right there. And you know a lot of people with a lot of power, with a lot of deep pockets, who are puppeteering stuff that I don't know because I'm just a radical artist. But I appeal to our humanity right now because life is more beautiful together. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments or anything?
I just want to say thank you. I think your words will need to settle for a little bit, just to process, and reflect on what you've shared. But definitely grateful for your presence, and I agree with a lot of what you said. And I'm happy that you're here, and I hope you continue to show up and challenge us and our peers and your peers as well. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Trey.
I echo Trey's sentiments. Thank you, or excuse me, Commissioner Hardin's sentiments. I had a question for you just from an advocacy perspective. If there was one thing from your perspective that Nashville needs for the powers that be, who may or may not be sitting around this table, to be better advocates for artists, what would that one thing be at the top of your list if you could say it in like 2 to 3 sentences?
Fund the artists, find a way, create a bridge, create a platform. You're opening a restaurant, you're building a new hotel, a new high-rise, whatever, a new stadium. Okay, let's dedicate a room in this 500 story whatever monstrosity. Let's dedicate one room, allow one artist. This is an experiment. Fund them, give them $5,000 a month and a free place to live and a free place to create. What happens? This is a crazy idea. Nashville is going to keep growing. So one out of just that, like every building, every new thing.
I love that. Thank you. I heard a better bridge between artists and business, particularly corporate, and I couldn't agree more. So thank you for your thoughts.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you again, Andreas, for being here. Moving on in our agenda, we're moving into the approval of last meeting's minutes from September 25th of this year. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes after everyone's had a chance to review.
I have one possible addition on the second to last page at the bottom for the roll call vote. It may be implied that I voted yes, but my name's not on the list, so I don't know if it needs to be included there or not. On the second to last page at the bottom, where the roll call vote is listed. Since I made the motion, I don't know if it's necessary to list me as a yes or not.
We'll fix that. I noticed one correction there as well. Thank you for flagging that.
I also have a correction on the page that is the second to last on the back side, where the top of the page says the motion failed. At that time, Chair West called a brief recess and then called the meeting back to order. I also left the meeting at that time, just prior to the recess. It says just Commissioner Brown left the meeting during the recess. I was one. Thank you.
I would move to approve the minutes from September 25th with the identified changes and corrections.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Awesome. The meeting minutes from September 25th are approved with the recommended changes from Commissioners Knight and Commissioner Wade. All right, we will move into the next section of the meeting, which are our committee updates. Starting with Public Art Committee, I know Commissioner West is absent today, but it looks like Mr. Murga has agreed to make an update.
Thank you, Commissioner Hardin. You can call me Attilio. That's fine. I appreciate that. Yeah. So yes, just want to give you some brief updates on where public art is today. So first I'm gonna start with Arthur Avenue. Well, I'll say this, right now we're in an exciting point because there's a lot of inertia going forward with a lot of the public art projects. And I think within the next couple of months, we're gonna see a lot of the results in person, which is, I think, the most gratifying and exciting part of our process, just because it takes years to do things like this. So first, I'm going to talk about Arthur Avenue. This is under Ann Leslie, and she just want to let you know that the project is obviously in progress. There were some unforeseen delays, specifically with sourcing materials and scheduling, but they're still making a lot of great progress. And the highlight is that we're expecting completion in early of 2026. So hopefully we'll be able to do that and have a beautiful illuminated bridge soon. And then the second one for Bordeaux Triangle, which is also under Massanio Say. We've had really, really great productive meetings with NDOT in working out processes, coordination, who's going to handle what. And both parties right now are just looking to finalize the application that will then go to council for legislation. And then once we have that situated and figured out and ratified, we'll be able to move forward and have a better idea of a picture for a timeline. And then following are some of the projects that I'm handling right now. As last meeting, we had the NYC sculpture project. We approved William Massey. Right now, we are still working with legal on figuring out editing some new things into our contract. But I anticipate hopefully that we'll have him on contract soon. I'll come back with the timeline then. But aside from that, in the meantime, and I know I said this in the previous meeting, he's very eager to start, which is a great sign. But he wanted me to echo that if there's any organizations, any groups that you feel would be really good for him to meet with, talk to, or consider, please send me those, email me those. I'm going to start logging them. Technically, he can't be doing anything, but I can. And now once we're ready to go, I'm going to hand those over to him, and then he'll have some sort of community engagement plan going forward. And then the exciting thing is next commission meeting, please try to make it as much as possible because I need you to approve the empowerment collection for the Nashville Youth Campus for Empowerment. This is our second feature in working with the facility there, and this is going to be about 30 artists that we're going to fund to do wall hung artworks. I don't want to say too much. We're still, fine tuning some things, but you'll have all the details then, and hopefully you'll be able to approve it, and we'll be able to move forward with that. And then we also have Strobel House project. This we haven't spoken too much about it, just because we've been going through some drawings. This is over down here, not too far, next to the courthouse. This is a project by Amari Booker. We would just right now just finalize drawings, and now it's moving into fabrication. So I'm hoping we'll be able to install in spring of 2026, followed then by a dedication, provided everything moves smoothly. And then the last thing, which I definitely have a really good window for this, is the Old Hickory Community Center. Installation is going to be done this December. So we've just been waiting. The artist is completely done. So we're looking at the first week of December, and then that's going to follow with a dedication. Right now, Parks has given me a tentative date, or week for that matter, and we're looking at the last week of January, which I believe it might be the 24th, if I'm correct, or 25th. But anyway, I will come back hopefully next month with a very specific date. Aside from that, that's all we have. We're still moving forward and working really, really hard. And I just want to applaud my colleagues for, helping each other out. I know right now we're still going through in terms of like taking applications maybe for the public art manager position. And so then hopefully a coordinator, and then we'll be able to build from there. But aside from that, I think we've been doing an excellent job. Anybody have any questions regarding public art? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question, and we have not connected. Miss Sonia and I were going to connect, and it's been so nuts. But this is about Bordeaux, so I don't know if whoever can speak to this. But I just was curious. I went to the community meeting, which was so great, and you all did such a great job, and I learned so much. And at that time, I was curious about a budget increase for the project. I know the space is challenging and things like that, but there was advocacy for that from the community. So what is the status of that, or the process, or is that something Public Art Committee is going to look at?
I can answer that. So yes, obviously we heard that. That's something that even prior to that meeting, something that we've been considering, just because when you look at any type of capital improvement project or construction in general, right, costs go up, right? But unfortunately right now, because we're still going through the process, we don't want to go through an amendment now and then have a very low budget then, who knows, in a year or so. So right now we're going to go through all the motions. We're going to make sure we have the site. We're going to see exactly what it is that we can do, and then we'll be able to come back and then have that discussion with the Public Art Committee. I don't foresee that to be an issue. And then we could discuss about, what would a suitable budget be, and then bring it back to you, of course.
Can I ask one more question?
Of course.
So the artist could also kind of incorporate almost like a dream budget. Like, are they submitting a proposal based on the actual budget or the actual budget? But then we could imagine what it would be like with more, right? Down the pipeline. Okay, cool.
Well, I would just emphasize site and budget, because those two are married together. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
If there are no further questions, I will thank Attilio for your update. Looking forward to some of these projects being completed and the dedications. Like you said, it's always nice when years of work end with a dedication and people can start enjoying the artwork. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Harden.
Thanks. Moving forward, our next committee update will be the Grants and Funding Committee. I will pass it to Heather. Commissioner Lefowitz.
I'll start, and then I know Ashley can chime in as well. We had a very good meeting of the Grants Committee, 2 hours long on Monday. Just for everyone's information and a reminder, we are not broadcasting those meetings anymore because of the constraints with our the constraints of the IT team. We've been great. We are recording though all of the meetings, and anyone can request that recording, and I think we were going to even try to post them, right? So we want these to be, we know that we'd like people to know that they're available. And we have a working committee. I feel like our meetings are, our processes, we're actually doing work in the committee, which is really what our goal was. When we started, we kind of wanted timelines and data, and Ashley and the staff has been able to provide that for us, which is great. You got in your report the slides that Ashley presented at the Apple Committee on Tuesday, and I was there, and she did a great job, and we had a nice long conversation. She had the opportunity to go through a lot of that data. These slides, which are the ones that we looked at Monday as well, they're just so helpful. We have not had before on grants this kind of data visualized. So looking at trends, looking at things over not just the last year, but the last 5 to 6 years. And so thank you for putting those together. They're incredibly helpful and just kind of what we wanted. I'll say that we have a long list. We're calling it our parking lot of things that we've been, as a grants committee and funding committee, trying to get us back on a schedule that serves the arts community in Nashville. And so we've identified a ton of issues along the way, right, that we want to talk through and deal with. We're calling them our parking lot. And we are sharing those, and we'll start fleshing those out next meeting in terms of what is possible, what is a short term, what is a long term. I also think, and we said this in the meeting, Commissioner Knight and I were talking about the parking lot, and what we've created, I think, is really, or what we are capturing is a possibility to define what we really want as a commission to happen in terms of grants and funding, especially as we move into like thinking about a director. And so it helps us identify our values. And so whether or not we can achieve all of these things, I think it's going to be really helpful, I hope, to help us. Last thing I'll say, and then I know Ashley can give us the excellent details about the current updates. But in the past, I did ask Ashley to gather some data and to think about, because I remembered in the past we'd had a funding program, I think it was Cultivate, which was kind of for, I think it was COVID or disaster relief, or kind of like specific contexts in which the community may have experienced a crisis, and there was funding for that. So it may be that we have funding, right, unallocated funds, things like that. If we had surplus, or if we had that, I'd like to bring that to the committee too, to discuss how we could get that out into the community. So that's on our agenda as well for next month. In terms of seeing what might be possible. Ashley, thank you. And thank you to the staff for all of your work. We've had community engagement sessions. They worked so hard, and thank you all.
Yeah, I can just give a few updates, and not to do what we did in committee, but just to pull a few high-level things out. And then I'll also give an update about where we are with getting the FY26 grants, just contracts and payments for any grantees that might be watching the meeting as well. So we are doing we call them report back sessions this week. It's similar to a series of meetings that we did in the spring after our grant cycle as well. And so W.O. Smith Music School hosted us on Monday. Art Until Nashville hosted us last night. At each of these in-person meetings, we have had people who are grantees right now in this cycle. We have had people who applied but did not receive funding in the cycle. And then we have just had curious people who want to learn more about the grant program. And so the conversation is always different based on who's in the room. And the slides that you have are the slides that we use in those meetings as well. So it's really just focused on talking about our policies, our processes that are led and guided by our policies, and the outcomes of this current grant cycle that we're in right now. So we do have the final formal report back session tomorrow. It is at noon. It's on WebEx, and so we have had a couple dozen people register for that link. So I'm expecting more conversation online tomorrow. You can find that link on the homepage of our website. What is our website? metroartsnashville.gov. Yes. So you can sign up for that link on our website if you want to log on wherever you are at noon tomorrow, ask questions, or just to listen or to hear what other questions and comments people have. And so thank you to everybody who's come out to these meetings so far. And the other things that I have in your packet, I've just got 2 slides here, but there were some questions at our last full commission meeting about wanting to see not just who we're funding this year, but in previous years. So these are just 2 or one of the resources that I shared in the grants committee, but you have in your packet a table that has operating grants for the last 5 years. And so you can see what those data are for different organizations, and you can see the status of each organization in the current cycle that we are in, and then back to FY22. And then what I have on the slide is part of what we talk about in the community meetings this week, and they always generate a lot of conversation, but just some imagery that shows what the numbers on that handout tell you by the numbers. But what the slide shows is these last 5 years of funding, operating, and Thrive. And you see there's lots of things I can say about these images. I'll just point out in FY24, that was the largest grants budget that we have had in the last 5 years. That was due to really strong and powerful advocacy that worked with the Metro Council to secure the additional funding to boost the grant budget that year. And we have had the same grant budget this year, the last cycle that we did in 2023. And so you see that's what explains that growth, or that larger dollar figure in FY24. And then if you go to the next slide, this just shows the same data, but by percentages. And so I think that this sort of shows the shifts in how we have allocated our grant funds over the last 5 years. And so the yellow bar at the top, you see that growing over time, where it was 5.5% of the total grant budget in 2022. That was Thrive, to the 40% that it has been the last 2 years. And then you see the decrease in the orange and the pink bars. Those are our large and mid-size organizations. And so you see some of the funding trends that those largest awards have really been brought down to much smaller award sizes, especially this year and also the last cycle as well. And then you see the growth in the purple and blue bars. Those are our medium and smaller organizations. And so this is just a sample of something that is guiding a lot of the discussions in our grant committee meetings as well as in our community meetings. And I hope that the data on the line by line provides some information that was requested last month. I always have a lot more that I could provide. And so, of course, please follow up with me one-on-one if you want more information. And we will make the grant meeting recording accessible, like Commissioner Lefkowitz said. I'm going to work with Darius about how we can probably create a tab on our website so that people won't have to ask for it, but it'll just be a new place that you get it, since it won't be recorded by the IT team due to just the very large volume of meetings that they have to cover. Before I talk about community arts leaders, I just wanted to say, I want to tell you where we are right now with just the grants that we did approve last month. We are Working through the contracts right now. And so everybody, all 165 grantees have received their contract. We've been working with Metro Legal to get those out the door. Very grateful for the very large administrative lift that they've helped with. They were sent out starting last Wednesday, and we finished sending them out yesterday. And so it's a pretty tedious one-by-one step of routing the contracts. Several dozen of them have been fully executed and signed, and so I anticipate sending the first batch of payment requests out next week, and we'll be sending payment requests out once or twice a week as more contracts become fully signed. And so on the grantee side, for contracts that have not been signed by the grantee yet, we will be doing follow-up to make sure that there's no questions there. And then if there are any issues that come up in the final approval steps, as we are doing, there's a check that I do, there's a check that finance does, at least. So as we're checking those final things, I will be reaching out if there's any issues that we flag just for likely, incomplete aspects of the contract. So anybody will expect to hear from me if there is anything additional that we need. And then I will also be notifying people as the payment requests are being submitted so that people know that those payment requests have been submitted. So yes, any members of the public, grantees who have questions about where that is, hopefully you know how to contact us, but arts.grants@nashville.gov is the best place to send those questions to. Any questions about grants before we move on, or comments, anything that people want to share? Okay, if you go to the next slide, I just wanted to make
I have a couple thoughts. Sorry,
Yes,
I
yeah.
thought there was going to be a longer pause to gather thoughts. I have a couple questions. Being new, still learning, and thank you for this, because this is really helpful to see the data disaggregated to better understand the distribution and the impact by organization, which I think has been a lot of the feedback. The overall picture can look one way. I mean, it's data. You can make it look how you want to make it look, but sometimes it's easier to see it more specifically. So a couple things that I noticed just digging through it from an organizational perspective that, just is another side of the prism. So looking at the number of, by size segment of organizations that saw decreases in funding from FY26 to FY25, 47% of organizations on this list received less funding in FY25. Now, vast majority of which, and I think you mentioned this, Director Batchelder, were across mid-size and medium, which, by the way, an additional aside, but it also, I think, helps to add to the conversation. I was at the W.O. Smith conversation observing, and there was a question that came up from one of the artists about what is the distinction between mid-size and medium, because for most people, like, that sounds the same. And I know we provide the revenue differences between there. So even if you saw that as like one group, I think if you look at the individual impact of differences between FY25 and FY26, there's a significant number of orgs that received less funding. And so it just puts me back into the mindset of like advocacy. And I'm curious, here's my question, like when we present this in committee in terms of the overall picture, because I don't see it visually represented, are we also demonstrating whether we're articulating or actually have a visual for the impact and distribution of funding that we have versus the need? And I think that's the picture that is missing to clearly articulate the why behind, I'm a commercial leader, so the business case for more funding. And I think that's the, on all sides of the coin, every stakeholder is saying like, hey, we need more funding, whether it's an artist, whether it's us sitting here. And so I think finding ways to more clearly demonstrate that beyond like, here's the bucket of money that we got and what we did with it. What is the kind of extended conversation that represents this is how we distributed the funding, efficiently, in integrity, thoroughly, and also here's like the bigger need and what would be possible with more funding, and then like what that number is, and just thinking about ways that we can continue to do that across all of the stakeholder segments to continue to advocate for more funding. So I don't know if that came up in committee is my question, but if so, any comments on that?
Well, I think that is an excellent question, and to think about, like, yes, looking at that data, not just the larger picture, but like what it is saying in terms of size. And I think I have a note on my parking lot list that is kind of to your point a little bit, but one of the challenges, right, with operating, unlike like a project-based grant, an operating grant, they never apply for a certain amount. So we never really, it's not as if there's a standard of like how much they're asking for versus how much they get, right? And it's always been just based on budget, based on what we have. And that's a challenge of that, though, just what you're saying, right? Because we know in general that operating funds are valuable to organizations because they can use them, right, for things like not just project-based funds, but organizations need, especially our, the smaller mid-sized organizations need that kind of unrestricted funding that they can spend on salaries and, whatever they need, right? So that is a challenge, right? Because they're not applying for a certain amount, nor have they ever really. So I think then therefore have an understanding of that gap necessarily. That would be the one. It's just an agreement and Ashley, do you have thoughts, or anybody else have thoughts about this in terms of especially understanding the operating piece?
I just wanted to mention that, I don't know if it's something related about what you're talking about, considering when they apply the grantees, knowing that the number of the community who was impacted by that program, project, because I think with that we can have also more information about the project or the artist. How many people, who was the target, and what was the impact in the community. So trying to track a number, so with that we'll know also if it was a successful project, how many people were reached. Maybe we have people from out of town. Maybe we have locals participating too or be impacted. I think that is important for me to know who's the target or the number of the community to prove. In that case, we have another point for deciding we're going to give to this program or this project a little bit more, or that will help us to grade the budget for each organization, I think.
Yeah, so I think what I can add to that, and your comments are related as to why what you're speaking to, Commissioner Yu, is not part of the evaluation process in a formal way, because it is based on a we call it a flat funding formula. So like Commissioner Lefkowitz said, the organizations don't request a specific amount. Every dollar amount on here is based on a formula that's based on the budget or the revenue that's shown on the tax document, and the mathematical formula that was put in place in FY24 that we have kept in place, and hear lots of opinions about it through these conversations. And so the formula that was put in place was a very aspirational one, where it really said if we were to, fully fund, was a phrase that was used a lot, fully fund an organization of this size or of that size, then that full funding would be calculated in this way. And so we've kept that funding formula as the base for where we start, and then we scale to what we have. So that's where all of these numbers come from. In FY25, so the cycle we did in the spring, we did a uniform scale across every organization. It was about 33%. So organizations got 33% of what they were eligible for, which was this idea, again, of maximal support for every organization of every size. What we did that's different this year is we weighted that scale. And so we could have done another uniform scale, which would have been about 34% of the optimal support. We weighted the scale higher for the smaller organizations and lower for the larger organizations. So that's how these numbers are calculated. And so what I'll be bringing to Grants Committee next month that I think relates to this as well is what I'm recommending our reporting would look like, where we do capture information like how many people did you engage through the work that was supported with the grants, both for organizations as well as for projects, and some like storytelling that we ask grantees to do as well. So it includes, numbers and the qualitative side. And, it's related to the applications as well, which we'll be looking at in Grant Committee as well. So I don't know if that kind of speaks to or helps kind of show.
Yeah, I think my thoughts are more so, maybe in light of like Grants Committee and moving forward, like how do we get to a clearer picture of what the need is, which is beyond the funding formula. It's inclusive of even the organizations that didn't get funded. So in an ideal world where we were able to fund all those that ask, even if it means there's an additional question that asks an open-ended, how much would it take to get to where this organization's mission is aligned and you're able to operate, whatever the question is. But the question that I'm asking is a more strategic question by which we understand for a city the size of Nashville that's growing at the pace that we're growing, for the amount of public artwork that we do, what is the amount? Because everyone loves the FY24 chart, in terms of the budget that year. But it still begs the question, well, how do we get to the number of the ask so that from an advocacy perspective, and I know I'm asking this question a little bit selfishly in terms of eventually leading this committee, but it's like, I want to be able to anchor in data what the strategy is around creating a very clear picture of the problem, the need here, and then being able to then engage, our legislators to say, based on this need that's steeped in the data, here's why we're asking for 2 times, 3 times what you've been giving. And we can paint a very clear picture so it doesn't feel jarring. And so if there's any way that like we could be looking at that and including that in our reporting, that's the only missing link that I see in what we have here.
And I would say too that to your point, one thing I've like done is like, this doesn't speak to the ones who were not funded, right? And kind of so this isn't exactly, doesn't hit all of your points, but I think they're absolutely right. And for advocacy, but thinking about, so this organization received this much money this year. This is how much they would have received if we had been fully funded. And the gap is huge. Showing these 2 things, I thought, what if we sent that out? Like if we had been able to fully fund, this is what it would have been, right? Those are powerful. Those can be powerful numbers, right? To see. So I think that's part of what you're getting at. But
that's the bullseye. That's exactly what I'm stating, because then you're able to say, yes, we're doing a great job with where we are this year, but it's giving a vision of where we could be.
Yeah.
And it becomes a very clear one versus like, oh, we want 10% more or 20% more. It's like, here's why, because although we did exceptionally well this year comparatively, here's what we weren't able to do.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have the funding. And then for people, especially for people that live outside of this world, who don't get it, they're not steeped in it every day. It's like, oh, great, you gave $5,000 to this artist. That's amazing. It's like, that barely scraped the bucket. You're not connected to it. So it just paints a clearer picture of why the ask could be much larger.
And as not to press you into service, but whenever it happens, like with the advocacy committee, that would be my dream kind of, is that the grants committee and the advocacy are working very closely together on this kind of data and really tying the advocacy to like that committee telling us what would be helpful in terms of the data or just anything, that it would be a collaborative process. So I'd be excited for that.
I just wanted to clarify. I forgot about the formula and what we agree. So I remember that, and now I understand that. But thank you very much for taking Ashley suggestion that I mentioned for your next meeting.
Grants, comments. Okay. So Community Arts Leaders of Nashville is another program that we provide updates to in Grants Committee. This is led by Josiah, but I'm just going to give the brief update. This is our program that you approved the criteria and guidelines for. I believe it was in our June or July meeting. And so this is our program that matches undergraduate students for paid work experience, part-time work experience with local arts organizations, and they also receive a mentor in addition throughout the spring semester and the upcoming year. And so our application process has closed for our host sites. We have issued conditional acceptances to host sites. And right now, our open applications are for undergraduate students. They do not have to be in an arts-specific degree program. It is open to any undergraduate students that are enrolled in a Tennessee-based college or university and will be physically present in Nashville in the coming spring semester. Our applications are also open for mentors, and so somebody who is a working artist in Nashville is able to apply to be a mentor to one of these students that's matched with a host site. Our website has the full guidelines and additional criteria that I might not just have mentioned right now, but that deadline to apply for those two opportunities is November the 3rd at 11:59. And so if you are connected to any college students, please help spread the word about this. This is always a very popular program every year that we do it. People have great experiences both on the student side and the organization side. And so interviews and the matching process will be taking place in early to mid-November. And we anticipate bringing the approval to you all in November. I say anticipate because that is what we are hoping to do. We're still finalizing dates on that. So we do plan to bring that in November, and that is that. And so we will send out after the meeting just a link for those, just to help spread the word if you are connected to any undergraduate students. That's all for the Grants Committee.
Thank you all. We'll move ahead to the executive committee meeting update. Commissioner West is absent today, so I will speak on that. I don't have too many updates. We did review the annual grants report that Ashley prepared in our last meeting, and Commissioner Knight, feel free to jump in. I think you made maybe a couple of changes, but you did present that earlier this week, so I'll let you kind of touch on that. We've been reviewing the bylaws, which I think we're hoping to bring here to commission soon. Just some of the changes we've discussed about term limits. We also talked about committee structure, specifically the future of care and the advocacy committee. So it's great to hear kind of some energy here around advocacy, because I think we're headed towards a place where we can revive and re-energize that committee, and especially after Andrea's remarks, I think it all feels right, at least to me. And then we also touched on kind of what to expect with the ED search coming up, and commission and staff involvement in that process. And I won't say too much about that. We also talked about potentially, for lack of better words, having another retreat in in calendar year 26. Now that we've got Commissioner Greer on deck, we have a fully staffed commission, fully seated commission. So we're excited about that, and we had a lot of fruitful conversation in our first retreat earlier this summer. And I think that with where we're at, we agree it would be great to have another opportunity to do that. I'm trying to think, did I miss anything? Are there any questions or comments on executive committee? Awesome. Well, with that being said, we'll move ahead. I will not be making a chair report on Campbell's behalf, so we will move to the next section, and I will pass it back to Ashley.
Thank you. So I just have a few things, and I will say slightly on Chair West's behalf, though she doesn't know I'm giving this update on her behalf. The chair makes committee appointments to begin on January the 1st. And so I know that she will be thinking about that. We've talked about this a little bit, and I've had some individual conversations with some of you. But if you have any wishes that you would like to be considered, you can let me know, and I can relay that onto Chair West. And so I anticipate she'll make those appointments in November, and those go into place in January 1st. So that will be our new some similar, maybe some changes, committee rosters for the next calendar year ahead of us. My own updates that I wanted to share is an announcement and an invitation on November the 12th. It's a Wednesday evening at 6 to 8 p.m. We are hosting what we are calling a Thrive reunion at the Parthenon. I'll send this in email follow-up as well. But we are bringing together, or we've extended an invitation. We're getting lots of exciting response back from all of the FY25 Thrive grantees, so folks who finished their projects earlier this year, and we've closed that out. And with the launch of FY26 Thrive projects, we just thought it would be a great way to host a celebration and appreciation for all of the work that was done with the FY25 projects, and provide opportunities for people to meet new people. Every time we have these community meetings, the conversation often goes to, we will never have as much money as we want and deserve for this work, but we can do a lot of acting as a convener and bringing people together. So November the 12th, celebrating the FY25 Thrive projects, celebrating the launch of the FY26 ones, and we heard from several folks who want the same for operating. So we'll be planning more of these mixers as well. So that's at the Parthenon, November the 12th, 6 p.m. We'll send you all an invitation for that, and it'll be posted publicly as well. So public event, come celebrate. I already mentioned committee assignments. My staffing update, as I said, I've got one of these every month. So last week, or 2 weeks ago at this point, was Claudia Lahan's last day with Metro Arts. Claudia has been serving as the restorative arts coordinator, and over the last several months really stepped up and served as like a grants coordinator as well. And this was a planned transition. She has moved out of Nashville, and so I just want to thank her for all of her work that she's done with Metro Arts during her 2 years of employment here, and just really emphasize how much work she did on this most recent grant cycle. And I can speak on behalf of the staff. We all wish her well, and that is staff departures. And on the staff hiring side, we have interviews scheduled right now for our finance officer position that I believe I told you about last month. So that is moving forward. We look forward to talking to the candidates there. I have received the candidate pool for our grants manager position. I was hoping for at least 100 applications. I got 123. And so I'm doing my preliminary review right now, and we'll be sending out updates on that as we move forward. But that is one of my priorities right now, is really focusing on that hire. Our public art manager, that position closes tonight at 11:59 p.m. on the Metro Careers website, and another really critical role that leads the public art team. And so last day, if you know anybody that might be looking to take a leadership role in our public art program, that closes tonight, and I expect that HR will do their preliminary review over a few weeks. That's the process. There's a HR preliminary review, and then that's what goes to the hiring department after that. And so it takes a couple weeks after the deadlines close. That is on the staffing side. We are moving forward with working with the facilitator, is what I've been calling this role, to work with us on our organization alignment process. So this is what we've had some conversations around, thinking about the work that we've done this year and the changes that we have next year, thinking about our eventual director search, doing that internal work right now. A lot of that will be with the staff. There will be times that the commission, you all will be invited and encouraged to participate as well. I've sent an invitation to some of you who I've had conversations with about doing an interview with the facilitator. And so those are on your calendar if you are doing one of those. And yeah, this is a 60 to 90 day engagement that we're working with this team on. And the goals here are just, creating greater shared assessment of where we are, shared assessments of our expectations and our priorities in the year ahead as we consider these new team members that will be coming on, including, thinking about our permanent director. And then we already said earlier, but I will just state it again, our committee meetings are no longer recorded. The executive committee and public art committee stopped being recorded a few months ago, and the grants committee meeting is no longer recorded as well. It is purely due to IT capacity. There's 80 or close to 80 boards and commissions in Metro Nashville, and only a couple of dozen of them even have their full commission meetings recorded. And so it's not common that committee meetings are recorded. And so the reason is just pure capacity on the IT side team. Y'all know what I'm saying. And so we will be posting our grant committee meetings because we know that that is where we have the greatest public engagement and people looking for that information. And so we want that to be accessible. And again, if you are interested in this Monday's meeting, we do have the recording of that, and we'll share it out before we get it posted online. But that is available. So any questions for me? That is what I have for my report for you all.
I just had one thought for the future. Maybe I'll put this in our parking lot for grants, but thinking about if we are posting the recordings, is there a way to post a transcript as well? I know not minutes, but with a disclaimer that it's unedited or something. We can examine that later, but I guess I was just thinking in terms of accessibility, if I'm a fan of transcripts. So
I know that the version that I saw did have some type of transcript and like timestamps. Like you said, it wasn't edited, so I had to, okay, it's not completely accurate, but it was helpful. Thank you very much, Ashley, for your update. Moving on to item H on our agenda. Looking forward to next meeting. If there are any topics of new and old business that any commissioners have, please share with us now.
And can I just make a note about our meeting dates for November? I believe it is not our typical fourth Thursday because of the holiday. And so I just want to make sure that first, I'm just fact checking myself. Our next November meeting is the 20th, right? So hopefully that is correct on everyone's calendar, just to not conflict with the Thanksgiving holiday.
Yeah, that I just want to note that week, Monday is the 17th. We will have grants And then Wednesday, the 19th, is scheduled for the public art meeting. And then that Thursday, the 20th, is the commission meeting. And Christmas is also, December is also a little bit the same, but we can discuss that at the next meeting.
Thank you. If there are no other items of discussion, I will take a privilege to thank the staff and Ashley. You all are doing a great job. I know you're excited to add some team members soon, but I make sports analogies all the time, and it's like soccer, you get red cards, you're down to like 8 men right now, so or 8 people. But yeah, we appreciate your work, and yeah, thank you all for all of the updates and the work you're doing. And with that, I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting, or I will adjourn the meeting. Yes. Thank you.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.